Hello, my name is Luke Gibson. I'm a director, editor. I live in LA and I'm originally from Dorset, England. I like directing music videos, and I work primarily as a director and editor of commercial content and music video content. The film I think that we're talking about today, was at NFFTY 2019. It's called Amu by Iglooghost.
Hi, I'm Christina Xing. I'm a director and I primarily direct music videos and commercials. I'm also from Los Angeles, but I was raised in Alabama, which is an interesting juxtaposition. But yeah, I'm super excited to have this conversation today about music videos, and I'm a big fan of his music videos, so this should be super cool.
Same here. What was the first project that made you fall in love with filmmaking?
Man, the thing that made me first fall in love with filmmaking, I loved YouTubers like Birdie Gilbert, and I loved Wong Fu Productions and stuff like that, and Bo Burnham, of course. And I think watching a lot of these people really informed my taste, and it made me want to also make videos in that regard. And I used to make YouTube videos, not any ones that were popping or anything like that, but that's kind of how the editing on Windows Movie Maker and then Sony Vegas started, and etc. And now we're here.
I mean, there were those first things that we filmed that were kind of gave you that taste of what it is like to film something, where it's I would just film comedy sketches with my friends, and they were not good, were not funny, but it was kind of that first interaction with shooting something multiple times, getting multiple takes, and then editing it, shout out Windows Movie Maker. So that was the first taste of it. But I guess when I really kind of fell in love with it was the first ever music video I did with Iglooghost was for his first mixtape that he was putting together. It was he'd just come up with the name, just kind of becoming his own as an artist, and it was for the song called Peanut Smoker. I guess I must have been a junior or a sophomore or something equivalent of that. And he came up with this really ambitious idea to do hand-drawn animation over everything that we filmed, and it was that kind of scribble art style that you see in a lot of stuff nowadays. And it was a lot of fun to film because we just ran around our hometown in England and just grabbed tons of random shit, and kind of didn't have a plan, didn't have a shot list. We're just kind of winging it, and then would figure out how it would go together. And then once we filmed everything, it was just him playing his instruments and random objects that were oh, the line art could interact with this. I was almost producing it and supervising it and picking up the slack when he was too tired from animating, because we literally did this thing in 2 days. That was my first glimpse at every aspect of filmmaking, where it was super intense. You're so tired, you're hurting your body almost in a good way. You put it all together, and then you get the video file at the end, and it's that's yours, you made it. So that was my first kind of start to finish interaction with filmmaking. And I guess I was kind of, after that, I was okay, this is a really interesting way of focusing on things creatively.
What was a resource that you used when creating this film?
I think the big resource was just the place we were at. We went to Claud's hometown in Chicago, and we just we had a basic story. Yeah.
I think if you have a good location as a foundation, then it's you can make a lot happen.
Totally. It was the idea kind of came about because Claude was my dad's selling our old house, my childhood home. I want to put it on video to remember it somehow. And then that's kind of where the idea kind of came from initially. Yeah, I think the biggest source material for this one in particular was just talking to Claude about their childhood experiences and teenage experiences, and kind of combining that with mine. And then it was very lifestyle and coming of age. I was really interested in making work like that during that time. It's interesting over the years though, in the past 2 years since that video, my style's really kind of changed a lot. I still love lifestyle stuff, and I still love that magical realism storytelling, but I think a lot of my stuff is even more surreal and poppy than it was before.
I guess we use like Pinterest and stuff, honestly, which I feel like I use way more often now, but it was kind of new back then just to find references and stuff. I think the thing with like finding references is you want it to be like much like a flow state when you're like looking for stuff to reference, but also you just have specific examples in mind. So shout out Pinterest for having a good search function to like find vibes, but like you can't describe what you're looking for until you found it.
Yeah, I love Pinterest. I use Pinterest on a lot of my treatments as well. Similar with yours, like you also had like a sense of like magical realism in yours, and like the little 3D dude. Like, how did you guys come up with that concept?
That was Iglooghost. He came up with the characters in that, which was really cool because it was almost like adapting like a comic book or something in that regard, because he draws all the characters himself, he does all his art, and he like comes up with these worlds. And I think the process was like, we had the video before that we'd done the year before called Clear Tammy, and it was like, that was like the previous generation of characters, and then he came up with like a new character, very much like Pokemon is like a big inspiration for us. And then we'd just came up with like how to adapt it, because he has these like the cartoon characters and they live in their own world, and then this is kind of like this Space Jam equivalent of like I did not use that as a source material at all, but so we almost had to like adapt it to like this kind of cinematic world where it's like a little bit of both, a little bit of like we're coming up with an original storyline, and then we're also like using the storyline from his album and his music to weave into this thing that's not necessarily like, you know, canon in his album, but it's like it's using the world from his music.
It was super like, I loved how surreal the whole thing was, and I bet you guys had to like storyboard or something, right? Because it was, how do you combine those two layers? You know what I'm saying? Like the animation.
Yeah, there's a little bit of storyboarding, and also kind of like it was also filmed quite like run and gun. Like we filmed it around the town where Seamus lived at the time, and just like finding random stuff that could like work, very much like the old video I talked about, just like seeing like, okay, what can we animate over this, and then like taking pictures of that, and then like coming up with a shot list based off of that. So like I want to ask you about like your music videos now. You've kind of like not like figured out your style, but you definitely progressed like in terms of like what you go for aesthetically, right?
That's a really good question. I think I was really like trying to find myself back then, because I mean I was so young and like I had not done that many videos in general. And now I know like what feels good to me. And I think the space that I like to operate in is like, I love stuff that's bittersweet, kind of like the tone of like Wish You Were Gay, where it's like, it's sweet, it's wholesome, but it's also kind of dark. And I also love like the look of something that's like super poppy and filmic and cinematic. And I think now that I found like that space, I don't try to like do stuff that's like strictly performance or stuff anymore, because it's just not really me. I think I'm very much like a story-based, like surreal kind of director. But yeah, it's definitely been a weird journey, because when I graduated, I started kind of like putting my foot to the pedal and just making 2 videos a month type thing.
Like figuring out your style at the very beginning is so hard and weird. It's like, because you want to try everything, especially with music videos, like, which is literally a medium like based on like cool techniques for every aspect of things. I love the fact that we got to work with the animation, but I also want to like rely on myself a bit more rather than, you know, I like working with really talented people, but I also don't want to entirely like rely on them for like what makes the video like whole. You've worked with larger budgets now, like since that Nifty, where you had that video. Like, is there like a sweet spot for you, like budget wise, or like?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like nowadays, like I won't touch a video if it's like not at least like usually $20,000 budget wise. I mean, like I'll do 10 if it's like a friend where like it's an artist I really believe in and like have a clear cut vision for the video, but it's not out of ego. It's more so like I want to make sure that like all the people that I bring on are getting paid, and like even with $20,000, like, you know, like that's for a 1-day shoot, you're still like not really paying amazing rates, you know, and that's super important to me, along with what I pitch, like matching what I exactly pitch. I don't want to like say I'm going to do this and then don't deliver on that. That's just like not what I'm interested in. So yeah.
100%. Yeah, because that's what it comes to. I mean, you know, what was like 20K is like a fair budget for like anything, but like for music video, like if you're talking to the wrong people, then they'll kind of be like, they'll raise their eyebrows at that. But it is just about paying your crew, and like after you've done a certain amount, like there's only so many favors you can call in reasonably.
Because I think like back in the day, like especially actually during the years I was making, you know, these videos for NFFTY, it was like my budgets were $3,000, $2,500, and like that was me and all my friends like eating food from Trader Joe's and like no rates, you know. And in the real world too, like people get paid for their like work and like their pre-work and all that stuff. So really $20,000 like seems like a lot up front, but it dwindles down to like $5,000 in production really. And a lot of my friends too, they also work in the VFX editing space along with music videos, because even if they can, like they don't know, like we should actually talk about that for people interested in pursuing music videos, like the structure of that industry. To make a long story short, essentially like for commercials, you usually know that you're pitching only against like 2 other people, maybe 3 max, which already is like great because you put in all this work in a treatment, which is essentially like a lookbook where a Bible is saying, this is what I'm going to do for this job if you hire me, and this is why you should hire me. It's your idea, etc. But for music videos, labels don't really care about that thing. Commissioners will just get treatments from like sometimes 20 different directors. If they're like a label that's like respectful in that sense, they'll do like 3 or 5 directors, but still that's a lot of people. Even
as I like was, you know, interning like in the early days, like at a music video production company, and like meeting and speaking with the directors, like yeah, it's tough. I mean, and it's often sold to you as like the privilege of your life because you're like directing videos for your favorite artists and stuff, but it is really tough to even get a job and then on top of that to make money from that job after you got it. So I mean, yeah, that's the reality of it. It's not to say that there's anything like less fun about it, but and it's often like a good excuse to try things. I think it's a big thing. It's just like I usually just get my music videos through like friends who are in bands and stuff like that, because I know that I have it, and I know that I can like collaborate with them from the start to like figure out an idea. Yeah, treatment is great for a music video. I always like to do them, but like bundling it up and like hoping that they approve of everything that you have rather than it being a conversation, it can be tough.
Yeah, I mean, like my process is like I have to do 2 treatments a week, and most times, more often than not, I get a no, or I'd get, oh, your idea is approved, and then like all of a sudden it was like, just kidding, we don't want to release a song. It's like a lot of like that back and forth. And also as a director, just up front, like you take 10% from the initial budget. That's like your rate. So if you're doing a $20,000 video, that's only like $2,000. Like, so to secure a proper bag for the month, you have to do 2 videos a month. It's things like that where it's just like, you know.
Like, and for the record, like way more hours than would, like $2,000, I think if you're starting out can seem like a lot, but like if that's your bread and butter and you're often putting up in like extra hours into that isn't recorded anywhere,
yeah,
go quickly.
Versus like in commercial, you get paid for pre-production, you get paid for your shoot dates. In music videos, you get paid $2,000 flat rate, all the work, pre-production, shoot, whatever you have to do, it's in the $2,000 for 10%. Whereas commercial, it's like, we're going to pay for your pre-production, we're going to pay for your scout, and we're also going to pay for your shoot days. That's why a lot of directors are like, man, I'm done with music videos, I want to do commercials, even though it's not as creative, because you can get burned out really fast.
Music videos are like honestly one of the most accessible mediums to like to start out as a filmmaker, because you could just shoot whatever and experiment. But then yeah, it's a very different world. I did want to ask you, because I've been independent like this whole time, but you're with a production company, right? You're signed.
I'm rep by Lost Bandas, Be Brave. It's really changed like my trajectory a lot, because I think Jen really knows like my taste in videos. Like she's not gonna send me a bunch of like trap videos because A, I'm not gonna get them. I don't have the work for it, and don't pitch stuff that will win for that kind of stuff. But like indie pop stuff, she sends me like everything that she feels like is a good fit. Having someone that curates that kind of taste for you is amazing. And I feel like when I was independent, that's something that I struggled with because I was constantly doing outreach, reaching out to bands that I really liked, but they didn't have money, and then I couldn't really do what I wanted to do. What about you? How did you get into like political commercials and stuff?
What is the best piece of advice you've received related to filmmaking?
Kind of like basically like you said, knowing your worth is so huge. When I was young, I like, not that I'm old as at all, like, but when I was younger, like 18, I did not know my worth. So for me, when someone was like, oh, if you do a $5,000 video, it seemed like a lot of money to me. But I didn't realize like what would go into like paying people and like paying myself. And like, I'd always be like, oh, I want to pay all my friends, but like not pay myself because I want this video. And like, this is such a huge opportunity. And I think it's important to understand that like other opportunities will come where you're not being exploited, but if you really like the artist, you really believe in the artist and the song, do it. But if you hate the song, you don't like what the artist is about, don't feel like you have to do it if it's not you. Like, it's not going to change your career. Nothing makes or breaks your career. That's the biggest thing I learned. There's nothing that will.
Yeah. You know, it is a lot of people's dreams, first of all, to like just be able to do that. So it's like, yeah, a lot of people do get taken advantage of. And I think, you know, a lot of the advice that I've received, like that you kind of hear, like, you know, whether it's in like podcasts or like Q&As or whatever, is like, oh, just like, you know, do whatever it takes to like get to where you want to be and stuff. But I think in between that is like, take some time, like know your worth, whether that's like what your time is worth. Like you can take time off between projects if you can afford it. You know, you can push back a due date if that is like within the realm of possibility for the project. Like your mental health is something that can get burnt out very easily. I got like burnt out for the first time, like actually feeling it physically, like in the past year. I think you don't really know what it feels like to be fully burnt out until you're right there, and it's just like a brick wall that like stops you from doing anything. But it's like, yeah, know when to quit, know when to pass up on stuff, and just like conserve your energy for the next thing.
Physical and mental health wellness, like I wish they taught this in film school, because that's something that was totally brushed over, at least at mine. They like are like encouraging you to rush and get things done and be as successful as possible, or like, but like in reality, it's like, what is success if your health is failing, if you're gonna die because you're not eating well, you're not eating meals, you're not seeing your friends? Like, these are all things that like are important, and nothing in your career, I don't care if it's an Oscar, is worth not making those calls and checking on your friends and like being happy. Yeah. I think that's what I learned this past year.